Hello and welcome to Modular House Challenge. And we have two types of participants. Some who will be joining this first time here watching this video recording, and some who are here for the already second, third, or fourth times who have been to Modular House Challenge and selected for the next iteration. So we'll try to tell you both what this competition will involve. And first, I will share the screen so you can see what we are talking about. So the screen share is live. Introduction to Abragciems Camping Development Workshop. We are announcing the event today. It will happen a while later. What this includes is basically two things. Mostly our aim is a feasibility study for modular housing in Abragciems Camping. And the result will be a brochure with all the options for Latvia's Finniers to choose from, like a menu in a restaurant. And also hello to our participants. It's nice to see you here. And the second very important part is the houses themselves. The requirements are the same as Modular House Challenge, which basically is innovation, sustainability, usability, creativity, and feasibility. So how much it costs also, but we are adding a condition for this specific destination that it is preferred that it can sleep 4 people. And for toilet and other comfort elements, there is centralized toilet area. But just houses probably is not enough, but you will see more in the pictures when we go through the photos of the destination. Also, you can send the questions after the video. For those who are watching later, feel free to reach out on either Facebook profile or write us directly. So it's okay to watch the video later. It kind of was also intended like that, so each of you can do it on your own time. What follows after this introduction, next week we will start the registrations, and the registration event will look like this. This will be Abragciems Camping Development Workshop, and the dates to save are 15th to 16th of October. That will be the in-person workshop at Abragciems Camping. However, roughly a week before, currently we are looking at 10th of October, we will have a QA call where you can ask specific questions, basically find out if there are something else, because starting from next week, we will send you the participants info package where we will have photos, 3D model of the territory, photogrammetry, all the design drawings that are available right now. And if you have any questions, this QA call on 10th of October approximately will be the one where you can ask more in detail questions. So today we can only answer more general questions. What else? The event itself will also have some attractions. So for people who come to 15th, there might be some nice surprises. I'm showing you this picture, but these are not the only developers who will be there. There are also some topics we will cover today. The first one is mentors and experts. So what type of help you will get during the event. Also draft schedule, what will happen in both days. Available material overview, and last but not least, also introduction from Latvia's Finniers, what challenges they are facing with this Abragciems camping territory, what works, what doesn't work, like a short introduction. About mentors and experts, not to go too much in detail, you can see some of the logos, some of the companies you already know, some of them you will find out more about later, but they all divide in 5 very important sectors. The first one is nature tourism sector, which basically are companies that organize outdoor events. And that is a very important, that's why it's kind of first, because basically those are clients. They are the ones who either stay in the buildings or they organize events like trainings, company leadership challenges, and community binding activities, like, for example, Lūdzumpunkts or boards, where they need accommodation, they need outdoor space. So they are the ones who help the territory make money. The second sector is architecture and landscaping experts. These are people who either will be developing or building the thing in a way, but also designing and looking how it all works together. So the deliverable there is basically how the elements connect together, because sometimes when you have a large territory and start developing it place by place, it's hard to make all the elements work together. So the challenge for landscaping will basically be to look at activity zones and also the houses and try to arrange them in more efficient ways. Third, fourth, and fifth are more maybe details oriented. The third is developers and manufacturers, so headed by Pavasars and Brain Games. They will look at ways that are most efficient to actually produce the buildings, which is also very important from our excursion and fellowships. Is that it's very important to start working with manufacturers as early as possible to avoid the design problems that later can cost a lot of resources, time, and nerves. And from brain games, we are looking at some outdoor games and innovative ways how to make these buildings more interesting. Maybe it's very literally playing a game, a table game inside the building. Maybe building itself can somehow become a game, but thinking about ways without adding to a cost substantially, how to make staying in these buildings more interesting. And you will see how they look currently and what people are doing there. We sneaked around with a camera and took some photos of a standard day in summer. And last but not least, we have finance and sales, and that's probably from jury perspective, very important point, which will basically look at how much it is estimate of costing for this idea and also how much the return can be in how many years. So we have some friends from Olympics, economics Olympics, who will look at that, and they can go under the name Develop Nature. One of the experts maybe will be Germano, we will see. And you can ask them ideas, and also, of course, Latvijas Inženieris, and I have Gunita here today, who will have a little chapter later. But basically, it's very important for each proposal to also have a price and expected profit later, because when you build or develop something, you expect it to be financially, economically argumented. And the last but not least is Latvijas Inženieris, our client representatives, who will basically consult you on their needs or look at your proposals and maybe give some suggestions. There are also people who administer Abragciems, and they will be able to give you some feedback also maybe on ideas they have already tried in the past and that have or hasn't worked out. Some of the ideas, like for example, sustainability approach, recycling materials, you will see that they already have been implemented in some parts of the park. Hi to people who have joined a bit later, it's totally fine. We also started very early, and the event is recorded and live streamed, so you will be also able to see the slides later. And anyhow, we will have a full QA session after this short presentation. There are scheduled, so these are the two most important dates. The first day is Sunday, it's 15th of October, and you can arrive starting 12 o'clock currently. That's what we are estimating. Of course, we will look a little bit at the weather forecast when it starts. And the day is not very structured in a way that there will be some mentors. You can talk with them informally, so you don't need to reserve time. And there will be some outdoor demonstrations like these bikes you saw before. Maybe we also talked with some hot air balloons, but no promises. We will see what the weather forecast gives us and then work with that. We also have some inflatable real scale prototyping elements like large beams that you can put in forest and see how it looks. Some of them are 12 meters long, some are 6 meters long. So we will see. We aim to deliver at least something for you to look and try to feel what Abragciems could become, and also make some photos maybe for your presentations to show how it would work. And last but not least, you can also stay in the houses. They will be quite cold. Every time we pitch this to Latvijas Inženieris, they say you have to know it will be very, very, very cold. So it's October, it's near the seaside, but if you bring enough sleeping bags, then it can be an interesting experience to see how the houses feel in October. The official season ends at mid-September, yes?
Yeah.
So yeah, so take that in mind, because one of the challenges with this, while we're organizing this workshop, is also to look at ways how to enable these shoulder seasons, as they are called in the tourism sector, in spring and autumn, what type of events or activities could be feasible. So in case we have good weather, then we can see how it could be done in good weather. If we have terrible weather, we will see the worst case scenario, and is there anything you can do in these scenarios? Maybe that can also become an experience or activity. And then the most important day, of course, is Monday. We start quite early with 10 o'clock with breakfast and mentoring sessions. These will have a reserved time, so you will have, for now, we estimate up to 10 minutes with a mentor, where you can pitch your proposed idea, see some feedback, and have still some hours to implement that in the presentation. After that, we have lunch and finishing proposals with mentors' feedback. And already at 5, we go to the presentation venue, where we prepare presentations, eat dinner, and then present and go to home. And then our organizer work starts because we will take all your presentations, put them together in a brochure. So if you want to send in some additional information, it can be included. So in a way, this is not a traditional competition. It's part of Modular House Challenge. So you still can offer your modular houses you have created. But this event is more like sales or networking event because you're actually accessing a real client and also real developers, real manufacturers, and real business people who organize activities. And the proposal you will give with your prices, we will put in the proposal menu, and then the client will be able to scroll through and see and pick out what looks better or not. And you will also see your competition because everyone will present and you will see how your offer stands against the others. How the territory looks right now, there are some photos we took in mid-July. If I remember, it was something like third week of July when we went there on a little excursion. And we will first show you some perspectives and photos, and then we will show you top views and 3D model. So that was the place. By the way, the water is quite shallow, so you have to go in quite deep. I think usually people, when they go swimming, go from there. And there will be some later when it tells about this blue flag status, that also is something to keep in mind. So probably the beach area is the one that will be less developed. So don't think about maybe putting really much houses in the water or in the beach itself, but that is something that you can consult later. This is how the paths currently look. So there are some sanitary areas, one closer to the sea, one further. This is the closest path that is actually to the sea, and you can see that the seaside is only a few meters there, but when people swim, they usually use the access pier. These are the existing houses. Some of them plan to be left. I think the second row, there are some of the newer ones, the older ones most likely plan to be removed. And one idea to think about is also what to do with that material. I know that in Modular House Challenge, we had some great ideas how to recycle and upcycle materials. So that's also something that can be included in the offer. Next here, this is how the path continues. View from the other side. So almost everywhere here you have electricity outlets. So electricity is already connected, but sanitary points are only in the center. We will show you later that building. This is the current basketball area sports. So you can see these are actually plywood sheets reinforced with this more durable coating. Quite actively used. And you can also see here how the clients or visitors are using the houses. So the current ones, we actually have technical drawings for them in the folder that you will get access to. And you can see that a lot of them are looking at ways how to expand their area. So one of these reasons, that's also why we say that you need to house 4 people, but it's also something to keep in mind is that current houses don't offer much in this outdoor enjoyment. Basically, you are staying in a little house with not that many windows, which is probably fine for sleeping, but people go there to also be outdoors. And the current ones don't really give you a lot in outdoor enjoyment sites. So that's something to think about, maybe implementing some tables or seating systems, or at least, a little terrace, because currently you see that there are a lot of different types of chairs and it's probably not working together that well. And given that there is no storage, then some people probably have to park the cars quite nearby, etc. So it works, but it could probably be better. This is the sanitary main place where everything comes together with waterworks, etc. As I understand, what is interesting, these plywood sheets are already around 20 years old, so you can see how they age. It's not required to necessarily use plywood everywhere, but you can see some of the ways how it can be implemented. And of course, no one would be sad if you do include it, and there have been some great examples there. This is probably how we looked, but you can see from the other side some of these newer buildings. And I don't really remember what was the function for these two. They are also houses where people stay, or
those two are the houses, yeah.
The houses.
These are
These are
the
the
newest ones. Yeah, that's just from the backside.
So these are probably staying. We are not looking at ways how to replace
Yeah,
those.
it's 4 or 6 people to size and so on.
So these can also house 6 people, but the ones we are currently proposing are 4 people. Of course, if you have some transformability in mind, we are not limiting you too much. At the end of the day, at this stage, you're basically the next businessmen who are offering the proposal to Latvia's Finiers, who, like business people, will go through and look at the proposals. So we are just illustrating most likely wishes, but Ford had this saying that if you ask people what they want, they would have said faster horses, but what they actually needed was faster cars.
In Abragciems, they would say better weather and water.
So weather control system,
Yeah.
maybe just a large umbrella that completely protects everything. Yeah. So yes, you can also see this camping area where there are some tents here currently not too full. During July, we were in a weekday, it was not weekend. So that's also something to keep in mind. I think that fluctuate and weekends, usually there are more people. And also maybe something to think about is about the cars. So a lot of people seem to keep cars quite close to the tents because the car park is over the road and probably no one wants to drive that far. So that's also something to keep in mind. This is the central part where people wash up, go to toilet. So it's a large central area. It's actually quite common in Europe to do that in that way. If you want to offer a house that has some integrated sanitary thing, you can, but it's not a requirement. Maybe something to wash your hands only or some other amenities. See what these up to 20,000, and that is the upper limit, as I understand how much people in this stage are willing to pay for a house of that size, at least for that territory. So if something fits, you can include that. What else? This is the territory which currently there, as I understand, there is one new development. We will send you additional photos. Currently, when we were there, this kind of activity trail was not yet finished. Currently, there is a small activity trail that goes through here, but this area is still up for more activity. Like one thing that currently is not permanent, like lot of, I think something like half of business comes from corporate clients and half of business, and we will mention that more, comes from private clients. And for these event type of activities, there is no permanent infrastructure. So that's also something to keep in mind. Maybe there is some business side to having a permanent event, at least some pictures that would help do like outdoor concerts or some activities or events. So when we went there, that was the most developed activity zone for sportists. So currently it has been developed a little bit, but that's something to keep in mind. And I understand that we build parks also had some idea to help come up with a concept where you can have either some running trails or looking at ways how people can be active. Of course, when sports are happening, you have to keep in mind that some people also want more leisurely types or zones. So it's always a challenge how you balance them all. But I think that's a job for architects and landscape planners. And here you can see one of the also activity zones, and this is the last place where rubbish is collected. So also something to keep in mind. That's also the road where the cars arrive when you're driving. So also can be something that you think about for those teams that look more on landscape proposals. Also material storage currently, as there is more material than place to store it, is quite outdoors and visible. So maybe there is some ways to tackle with that. So this is the place where basically some of the cleaning stuff gets held. This one workshop where technical, like they have, for example, these go-karts which you can cycle with, and then some tools are stored there, etc. But as I understand, these are the same modules that are the house modules, so they haven't been much adapted. So maybe there is some business case of transforming these into actual sleeping areas and creating one common workshop area that has cleaning, storage, etc. Again, more task for landscape team, not the modular house team, but you could have an argument that there could be 3 houses which already would be quite cheaply transformable into money-making sleeping units, as opposed to storage. And then maybe storage can be something cheaper, not for this expensive plywood sleeping unit. And here you can also see some of the upcycled houses that have been, not houses, but as you saw, that also trails are covered with plywood. And this is the old plywood that has been transformed into decorations, and some plants are growing there. So the idea is maybe there is some recycling, upcycling area where, because the territory tries to be sustainable. And there is a lot of material when you kind of update the houses and also change these pavement path from year to year. If you find or have a suggestion what to do with all the materials, and I know we had some teams in Modular House Challenge that looked at that particularly, that could be a great idea too. This is how currently the indoor part of this workshop area looks like, and basically space requirements for that. So some machinery gets stored there and some outdoor indoor tools. And this is the place where actually all the cleaning stuff and basically bags and as I understand also pillows and extra stuff gets stored. As I understand, the cleaning comes up, picks it, drives it somewhere, washes everything centrally, and then drives it back and stores it in the greenhouses. So this is the new module look. This is the cafe area. There is indoor-outdoor zone. That is probably quite self-sustainable. So I don't think that it needs much improvement currently as it functions for them. I'm going to correct me if I'm saying something wrong, but it seems that at least the owners are happy with that area.
And then you see this year's plywood on the.
This is the completely new, but it's
Yeah.
actually interesting. Yeah, you saw in this sanitary center there were older ones like this.
Yeah.
This is new. Quite the color has kept quite well. Yeah, so here are some children's area currently also can be room to expand. I don't know how many people with children come, but I guess probably quite a lot because the children are there and they now have one new trail, as I understand, which will have photos later. This was the most active area we were there in the weekday, so there were a lot of people sitting around an empty bonfire place. And that's probably the only one, right? But you couldn't get grills, as I understand.
Yeah, there are specific places. That's this blue flag.
You can kind
Beach expect some order in that. So then we also market the places, and there is a grills for that.
I think in the participants info package, you ask Anna to put in later these blue flag beach requirements. So when you look at your proposals, you know that you don't accidentally remove the very good status that this.
I think the territory as such, the dune territory is also worth to look what you can do there and what you can't do.
Good to know. So here's another picture. You can see also on these houses. So people really usually try to recreate and relax outside of the buildings. Here is also an area for campers. I think there are in total 2 zones where they can drive and stay. Currently, there are only some plugs and outlets for them. Probably something worth looking into. And here you can see everything that we looked at from the above. So we started our journey here. We went through along this trail. Here are some toys that currently are in the most visible, most prestigious area in the territory. When you go further, this is the basketball court. This is the large tent where some events can happen. And we actually plan to do the workshop there. But in October, it becomes quite cold, and we decided to take care of your health and not make you from being outdoors. This is the central area, which is all the toilets and kitchen zone. And here we finished our excursion with this cafe, which is also where we started. This is the main entrance. You saw there are also some of these rubbish areas, something when you think about how people arrive. That's something to probably keep in mind for people who are territory planners. And here you can see these what was the name? Campers, yes, and the camper cars. What else was there? I think we covered most of stuff. But if you look from the other side, I think I will try to zoom out, probably even more. Okay, over there, scroll a bit too far, there is the large parking. So it's quite a large territory. It's not being very actively used, as I understand.
It's used during the corporate events.
When the corporate events happen, it's used, but every day it's quite So you can think about something on that side of the road, maybe. This is the full scan PDF, which is in the folder, and on this side you can also see this is this car parking, which usually gets used when corporate events happen. As I understand, the largest events which have been is something around 800,000.
We say that we come welcome about 1,000.
But not sleep, right? It's only welcome.
Yeah, but then it's tents and.
Okay, so the tent area gets.
The tents
and from sleeping units, do we have, or I have to find out from the Abragciems managers how many actually?
I think it's 18.
18 houses. Yeah.
Houses, yeah.
Currently, okay. Great. So this is the DVG. So you also have vector files with the territory. It's not the most up to date, but it has all the main trails, buildings. So you can actually look at this. This scan was made in July 19, and the PDF is a bit older. So it's this topography file with the new buildings on it. So if you want to make sure if it actually exists in the real world, you can check this one, which is currently most up to date version we have. It also has a 3D. It's not a very detailed 3D, but it's like this photogrammetry 3D. So you have a 3D model of the territory. If you want to know juridically where are the borders, you can also see in CAD file, but there is a JPEG of this official land document with all the coordinates. It also has marked some electrical lines and access points, probably a little bit too in detail for the first proposal, but at least you can see what exists there. And there is also a schematic map where you can see how people who come to the camping, that's probably from their public side. We were actually looking at the most profitable thing you could do is put it on booking an Airbnb and do some good photos, but that's on your side, you have to be more innovative and also offer some practical suggestions. Here are some of the examples of these existing buildings, panel sizes. If you want to implement them in your existing modular house designs, then feel free to do that. So in full for this participants info package, which we will share with you next week, it's territory plans, all topography, new 3D photogrammetry, schematic designs of original cabins, photos from the site with a camera and with a drone, and the financial statistics you can get on request. And now we will introduce you finally with our guest Stefana, who also is the holder of all the financial and statistics information on the camping. So you can ask in the QA for some questions here, and if we have an answer, we can give it today. If not, then we can do it in the next QA event. Okay, the microphone is yours.
Yeah, thank you. I welcome everyone and thank you for showing interest, and hope that we together can create a next step in development of our 20 years owned camping. And this is the time what we have lived in Abragciems as the company. As you may know, we are not our main business is actually not the camping. And then most probably this is the thing why we are asking some view from outside and some help from you. The idea 20 years ago was that in Latvia there was not so much recreation places which were up to that level, so that we would like to go our employees or something. So at that time we took some places and developed it mostly for ourselves. But of course, passing the years and taking in account that it is not our main business, so I think we have to make a next step in development. And simply as such, there some investments definitely are needed to make a leap. So, and then how to invest, why, where, which is the best way to use the territory, to use the existing things, or remove everything and start from scratch, hoping that in, I don't know, 10 years we can get profit. So that's our challenge. I don't think much to add to Matis what said, because the main challenges is that how to balance the corporate events and the individual customers, because almost each weekend of July and August, starting from the midsummer actually, is full by the corporate events. So it means that territory is closed mainly for individuals. So how it looks like from the individual side of part, taking in account also that, as Matis mentioned, we earn quite equally from individuals and from the corporate events.
And it's more picking up from the corporate.
Yeah, it's more picking up from the corporate. So we also have some campuses for the sportmen, for the children and so on. So during the weekdays, there is also groups of people, not only the families or individual travelers, but also the groups of people which are there. So how to balance it? Then the next big question, of course, is there any possibility to prolong the season? because as we see, so actually the end of June and end of August is the season. Although we are open from the May till October, so the first and the second one, the last 1 months, they are quite calm, I'd say. How to attract more people? So we are now quite not modern in welcoming people in our digital era. I think we are just very simple. Look at the web page and call us. So we will book your stay here, and so probably something to do there. Yeah, and then we would like you to be very creative and open-minded in a way so that probably we should shape this business very radically. So probably we don't need these 18 or 17 stable houses. Probably it should be something very light, so which is okay for being there for 2 months in the seaside. So and then for the rest one, so it's packed and stored and that's all. So just be wild and. But of course, you have to take also in account that there is some limitations because of the territory as such, seaside, dunes, and so just check what's allowed and what's not, because I think for the big buildings there is quite limited possibilities.
Yeah, that's why I looked at these modular houses. Is that's almost the largest, easy to add structure or swap the existing ones which exists. So otherwise, making more large. We can be offered, but it will probably not something you get ordered very quickly.
Yeah, or also there could be the problems to get it legally there. So. And then another thing that for years we have had the blue flag, one of the blue flag beaches. So we haven't had it for 2 last years, but so we still aim to have it next season.
Get it back.
Yeah, bring it back. So it was something about the water condition, which we couldn't impact anyway. But and then it's, for example, no pets, no sales on the beach. So and so that's why it's also a little bit limits. If you will say that it's limits too much, so then we have to consider, so should we go for blue flag or not? But just at the beginning to
it's
consider
actually
that.
interesting when clients go to campings, and that's probably something for nature sector group to think about. Is blue flag beach an attractor you're willing to pay for, or it's something you expect? Oh, there are a bunch of things to choose from. So that's very good.
Yeah. So that's the main challenge. So we feel that we are on some border to invest a little bit more that we do it each year actually. So some investments, some repayments and so on. But actually, if we want to the next step with the new houses, so it's a little bit more than usual investment. So that's why we want to do it smart.
Do you have a lower and upper limit how much you are really?
No, I think we'll read these brochures.
Okay. Sky is the limit. Look at the life with the yearly overturn number.
Yeah, that's the limit, definitely. But of course, probably we are not the forerunners, and probably we will not change the 18 buildings in 1 year. So for 1 season, so it could be 2-3 years projects, and then afterwards. So, but anyway, so to get idea, should we be there in that place, and what should we do there? So to be to feel good about it, so that it's much modern. So because we haven't developed it up to, I think, level, which is the comfort level and so on, which is now expected more or less from the tourists. I go by myself, so then I would pick the new houses, of course, in Abragciems. But they are booking for the whole season.
Actually, I will have to ask for this is very good, that point. One is that the new houses are actually almost fully booked, right? Yeah. Okay. new ones are booked. The other one is that we need to get a photo from interiors of the old ones because it's probably you will actually.
It's very simple, yeah, but
it's very rustic and
yeah. And then what the person now going to seaside still wants the coffee maker or what is it? So some.
By the way, the current prices, how much is the old and the new one? If no, we can add that information later.
Yeah. I think so for the for the the old one it's 45 euros, and for the four places and this is the new ones, this is 68 or 70.
60, yeah.
But you can find it all in the web page. So
that's actually a good thing, yeah. For this,
you can visit. There is also something about the history and why it's Abragciems and what is nearby, and so you can just look a little bit at our story.
It's in the website capture as PDF in the participants materials, so they can actually sketch on the website or maybe think about something about, because we have this client group that is like looking at ways to attract clients, marketing and sales group. I think that would be a really good idea to just maybe someone wants, like a designer wants to have an offer for your website improvement. That's very good that we can offer out to them some other design agencies we know, so they can come and have a go, like give a number and who knows.
And then of course, as it's very short season, then most of employees are just for summer there, and there's only 2.5 permanent persons here in a low season, so in no season actually. So, but and I think but be ready for October. So when you come, I don't stop.
You will be able to stay for free in the houses, and we will put that information in the registration form. But you can think about how much will you pay. Would you have been willing to pay for staying in a cold house in October? That's just interesting for us. Is there a price point or?
And when you come, you also you saw these birch plywood elements in the buildings. It's also in interior and inside and outside, and we have used the Abragciems as an open lab for actually how the plywood lives in the nature near the sea, and what we suggest to do with it and what not, then the persons can come and see how it looks like in a life. And we have really used it also for our test. There was one wall with different plywood products, so that we can compare and see how it works in a real life. So which is the.
I was actually thinking about the fact that, and my first idea was, why are you hiding all this like kind of workshop area? That like it could be kind of not like a game, but like this like I know that the RTU, for example, now have this like there's RTU campus, and then there is prototyping / experimentation zone where it's not like really permanent, but you always can see someone screwing something there together. And I thought maybe if we make this workshop area not in these modular houses, but kind of put it in a larger semi-open structure, then you can have like this experimentation zone where people can come and like see how like some new shapes or something.
Of course, you will see also these two old Levan buildings in the territory. So,
I can actually.
And of course, we have had some drawings by ourselves how to develop this place, because definitely in some I don't know when, but we have to address also those two buildings. Probably something very light and easy could be also the version, because if you want to build some big building there, you can use only the basements which are there, so you can expand this one.
So
these grounds
on the left side are the ones that we talk about. Yeah, they felt so out of there that
it's good that it's
I thought it's so very interesting who lives there, you know. So it's administrative.
It's administrative, but actually when there are campuses or many people in there, we use it also. One of this building is also repaired for living as well. So, and then when the corporates come, then there is, I don't know, backstage or something else for big events. So
Yeah,
and then of course you see there is some sport possibilities and so and when the big events comes and those who are building the stages and so they do it with where these living houses are. So and probably it's the way where we can, I don't know, or the more permanent tent or something like that could be possibly the option. So which we could look like. So just open. I don't know, Michelin class restaurant. Why not? And actually, we rent it out for those who are serving it, and if there is an idea, so of course, how to attract more people in even passing by and spending some hours here. So it's also an option.
Because in that territory, we know when we did, because I had the luxury last week to do this double hike. And our idea with Andrew when we hiked it was that we really want to eat well on this hike. We don't want to take road on, so eat these cookies that are in the checkpoints. We wanted to eat well. So we first ate near what was it, Merstrax? Merstrax, there is this really good restaurant near the spa center.
Not much far. So it's
Albatross. So that's differences. Yeah, very good pizzas, very tasty.
Yeah.
And then the second place where we ate was already in Ruoya. Exactly. And apart from that, in the middle, you had something, but nothing, to write home about. And even in Ruoya, it wasn't like the previous one. That one was really good, like restaurant. And then the other thing which we had this week, we had meeting with this nature sector, also a program with Latvia and these guest house operators, and we were talking about what everyone did in the summer, etc. And we said that we were in Greece, and we said they were all surprised. They were like, but why is everyone going to? Because Greece this summer won. They in Europe, they were the most visited country, and it was extremely hot, and we were talking with them, and they were, oh, why are they not coming to us, to Latvia? We have a better climate, more friendlier, etc., etc. And what we found at the end was that it's just the only thing we don't have is that, like in Greece, they have these tavernas and restaurants, and the food is so tasty, and Greek salad and souvlaki and cheese. And then we started to think like Italy, France, all these top countries have like perfect food, like everywhere, tasty, etc. You come to Latvia and you have some smoked fish, which is great there, but that's basically it. Like when you were hiking, you could buy smoked fish, and of course it's great, but you sometimes want to sit down, have a meal, and
So that's
food is probably the secret reason why people are traveling.
That could be one of the reasons.
So we will have maybe one book. I don't want to spoil, but there might be the Saturday, which is the day where we don't have a Sunday, sorry. When they don't have official meals planned, but there might be some pizza baking happening. So for people who are considering whether to go or not, that pizza master is very well renowned, and we really will try to get as many pizza doughs as possible. So that's some extra reason to go. But maybe you had some more.
No, I think it's let's meet there and sing together. So that's the.
Okay, we will be opening the questions. So people who want to ask a question right now, if you still have some questions, can start thinking and finding a raise hand button, and then we will give you the floor. Or if you are very shy, you can also write a comment. Meanwhile, I have some questions that were either sent in already or that I wrote down when I was listening that probably overlaps with yours. And the first one is, okay, my terrible writing now really comes in line. Seasonality, yes. Okay, here we go. When the corporate events happen, is the toilets too little? Like, is there enough toilets for the peak amount, or you add some more, like bring more toys or etc. Because there is fixed amount of sanitary zone. And
I think we ourselves made our corporate event this summer there, and we were the largest one with some 800 people in. So we didn't brought any more.
And it was quite okay. So that's good to know.
But if it's, I would say, if it's more than 800, so probably some you should consider.
Okay. The next one is close up groups of people, registration. Who has a question? Oh, okay. Oh, there are more. Yeah. I will have a question. Can I? Oh yeah, of course. Moderners, I give you the floor. Yes, the headphones are on. Yes, you can ask the question. Meanwhile, I will try to read my own
Okay.
comment.
Do you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
very well.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, I will try to show screen.
Mhm.
Maybe I was just don't hear the information, but I just want to make a correction.
Someone's very quick.
Do you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Super. Okay, I was wanting to ask what exactly is the place where we are looking to, or where we can build like our project?
For modular houses, as I understand, they are looking to swap the existing old houses with the new modular houses. So that's why the question is for the 4 people house, and they want to buy them in bulk eventually. So you will have an option to design like they will get several of the same modular type. Additional houses, I don't think are that much planned, but we were looking somewhere deeper, and there could be maybe, but it's further in the future, some experience thing, like kind of these Airbnb special houses, maybe something more like a tea house, but that's something that they are not looking, like if you can present a bit good business
have
case,
ideas,
then open, but
yeah, we do not say that we have replace it one by one. If you see that there is no need for so many, or we need double, so then you are free to propose. But actually, yeah, the main problem for us, which we started because these old buildings, they are really old, so 25 plus years, and it's seems pitier and pitier. So looks like, and also the people are not willing to spend a lot of time there. So it's 1-2 nights, and then it's so. But yeah, actually we look for replacing existing, and you can see what the people want to see from the house. If it's C, then probably there is no so much options to place them in a near to the water, which want to take a cup of coffee and sit and look at the seaside. So then think from that perspective as a user.
So very important point, when you will register for the competition, and the registration will open next week, so you can also reserve if you want a house, don't want to sleep in a house, etc. Knowing all the risks that hypothermia that comes with that. The important question there for you to keep in mind, you will have these 5 challenges, and you can only say, hey, I'm only in this competition, I only want to offer a new modular house that you can exchange, and it's okay, you can do that. And then for example, some landscaping team can also look and utilize your modular house. But you can also select several challenges. For example, if you're an architect and this modular house person, then you can select the landscaping idea and also offer your whole vision of that. Or you can go to We Build Parks and say, hey, maybe you want to implement my idea in your proposal. So basically, there will be these 5 groups, which is landscaping, modular houses, and all the other ones you saw. The 5th one is kind of not the proposal, it's the just existing criteria from Latvia's Finieris. So basically, it's consulting about deliverables. But the first 4 is actually where we expect pitches. So basically, of course, maybe someone from Latvia's Finieris also has an idea and they want to pitch themselves. Maybe Peteris or Abragciems, but who knows? But ideally, when you will register, there will be these 4 groups, and then you can. I hope that answered your question, but of course, feel free to elaborate.
Maybe I can one little question. Like the zone where we can something build. I see that this was the primary zone, but what's about this?
That's the blue.
That's the beach.
Yeah.
This is the sun.
Because if you look at this gray here on top of the greens, remember from the photo that the blue line basically almost marks the place where water comes, and between these 2 piers, you can saw in the picture there were those toys. So that's also
here. It is the picture.
Very good screenshotting.
So here we can build, yes.
Well, you can put something there.
I think you can build it just if you say that we need to triple the houses, then yes, if we want to keep the corporate events, so then think twice.
Yeah, so
Should
basically
we build there
that's where
something?
that's where currently they are putting, let's say, an inflatable screen.
Yeah, or stage or the tents for the food or the activities, so it's more used. Volleyball, some softballs and so on usually are played there, so if you ask me.
The important part, remember that currently, and that's a very good data point, that profits from corporate or private individuals are 50-50. So one offer, let's say, would be to keep that, one offer would be say, hey, let's focus only on people who don't leave a mess and make more, houses. And the third one would be to, let's only focus on corporate events. Probably it's the 50-50 thing and try to balance that one out so you have, better risk aversion. But the important data point also, which I really wrote in red here, is that they said that the new houses are fully booked for the whole season already with this 70, 80, 60 price point, 70. Yeah. So that's something to keep in mind, that apparently there is a really high demand for these houses still, especially if you have this whole complex as a territory. How many do you have the new houses currently?
I think it's 5.
Okay. 5 new houses. Okay, very good to keep in mind. Was this all, or you have some more questions?
No, enough. Thank you.
Yeah, but if you still have something, then just write.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
We are extremely interested, good of course, but informed from your side. So I deciphered the second question, which I had wrote down. And for the new houses, do you have self-check-in? Because I understand one of the issues with shoulder season is that you have to have a person who waits and says and etc. But so I understand there's no self-check-in.
It's not, there is always someone in the territory.
And would you be interested in looking in something like that?
Yeah,
because I understand, the new ones are a little bit heated, right? Or not?
Yeah, I think if you still decide to come for the overnight in October, then some of them are with the electricity.
The heated ones. So the first ones to register, I guess we will reserve some for the jury members and members.
So come at the morning. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So good to know. Okay, what else did I write down? Oh, yes, there is one last question. I think the last one, at least on my side, and it's balancing corporate. And they said that it's quite a challenge to balance it. So currently, does the balancing means if there is a corporate event, let's say Latvia's Finja is the big 800 people event, do you also allow individual reservations, or it's completely off? Even if someone wanted to stay with a tent, you say no, thank you.
I think there is then 200-hour tents in. No, I think it's mostly closed, but I think that we can try to do. Of course, if it's the big event, they want to come the day before and put everything on. So then for example, Friday evening is a mix, of course, something between the individuals and corporates, which are already
that's interesting
coming.
Because like from my side as a person who also works a little bit on nature tourism and looks from the outside, it hypothetically looks that these corporate events should be more profitable. The mass of 800 people, everyone brings only 10 euros. It's already, and you feed them all, etc. But yeah, I guess if you think about cleaning up this one day before all that, I think the profit margins start to eat up.
Yeah.
So it's not that extremely profitable right now.
Yeah, I think so, but because myself is also making the events for our employees, and then I know what it takes and what is there.
Okay, that's an interesting point. I guess, well, if we have anything else, we will have the second QA event, so you can keep your questions till then, or you can send them in and we will also answer an email and then on Facebook and other places. I will quickly check.
I have a question.
Yeah, of course, go for it.
I wanted to ask, those 20K, this is only for the materials or also for the labor?
So when the client, in this case, Latvia's Finja, but the Modular House Challenge aim is also not to sell these modular houses only for Finja. So when you go for this, because there are some participants like you who is strictly Modular House Challenge person, and in that case, in this, they said it's very unlikely that we will buy a house that costs more than 20,000 K, right? As I understand. So you as a business person, you could, for example, theoretically, invent a way how to build a cardboard house for 50 euros. And if there is no one else who can build this house, it looks great, it does everything, you can have like 19,000 profit, you know, if Latvia's Finance is willing to buy it. So in this case, it's your as a business person, or at least that's why we recommend in every team to have at least one person who knows a little bit about numbers, materials, workmanship, etc. But that is the number that they are willing to pay full period. Like that's, you have, the house has to appear there, transportation, building, everything. So, but it doesn't need to have a toilet. So that ups a lot of questions there. That being said, we have this modular house group where Latvia's Finance is not in. So it's your participants secret group. And there we put in, I think I have put in already some 50 examples of houses Latvia's Finance theoretically could buy. And the price points jump from, I think the cheapest one we found was 5,000 euros, like a house which you can buy, the guy will deliver it, and it looks like 5,000 euros. So it's a house. It has a roof, and that's basically. And there are also houses which cost 60, 80, 100 euros, 1,000 euros.
And then to say that we have to have the 15 of those.
Exactly. Yeah. So
just from the business side also to look at it a little bit.
So yes, that includes everything.
But of course, yeah, and we of course have looked for the houses before, and we have some top which we could choose, but then we decide to go for more open approach and involve more people in the thinking and with the support of Matis.
Yeah, let's hope they don't regret it.
So I think that this is our investment in the development, and then let's see how we use it and in what time period we do it.
So you as the most artistic house, it's a good job, interesting. Yeah. We actually were talking.
But probably you will say that we don't need 15 or 20 of those. So probably we need just 5 and it covers everything. So then, okay.
Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes, the focus is more on the summer houses or whole year.
Mostly summer house, like we are aware that 20K most likely will not buy a fully equipped house. So it's summer season. If you do this whole checkout thing, check in, but remember that definitely consult with Pavasar's manufacturing team there, because of course you could say that if you have a house, and as a nature tourism sector representative, I know that demand in winter is people want to reserve houses in winter, for example, habitability. If you bring one module that is sound module and the houses, there opens up a lot of ways how you can sell experiences and people can self-checkout, etc. Cleaner comes once a week. Great business plan could be done. That being said, to build a house where you can sleep in the winter and which is heated and everything else, etc., the price will balloon very quickly. So you have to really consult the engineering challenge to keep it all manufacturable, etc. And if you are going for a run of only at first, let's say 5-3 buildings, of course we will expose you to other clients too. And the idea is that you become a company that produces houses in scale. And this is your first client, but really think carefully about that. And that's your team's, risk profit challenge. That being said, looking at ways how you can stay warm in winter, I don't know, like maybe there is, like you can make a little bit fire in the house. Who knows? That ventilation expert we have, Anatoly is better than it, so you can talk with him how to keep people safe from CO2 when the wood is burning. But yeah, there are some traditional ways how to keep warm too. It doesn't need to be electricity, of course. Okay, that we have. I think thank you all for joining this evening. We are always available for questions, and let's hope we all meet in Abragciems. The weather is great, and pizzas are popping, hot air balloons are flying, and ideas are all jumping in the brochure. Otherwise, keep safe and see you all soon. Goodbye.
Yeah, bye.